You're listening to the Career Musician Podcast with creator and host, Nomad. With 20 plus years of experience in the music industry, Nomad has done just about everything to earn a living as a career musician. From being music director to celebrity artists, playing iconic arenas and stadiums, composing for film and TV, and even playing your average local club gigs, he's done it all. Nomad's mission is to empower musicians across the globe with strategies for a sustainable career while blasting stereotypes, and to bring you tried and true wisdom from his colleagues in this crazy business we call music.
On this episode of The Career Musician, we have Dwayne Smitty Smith, bass player extraordinaire to the stars. Now, Smitty and I go way back to the Kirk Whalum days where we introduced our first gig we did in South Africa, opening up for Casey and JoJo and Mary J. Blige with Kirk Whalum's band. Smitty has been the mainstay for Boney James for several years, but also has a long list of credits that read George Howard, Gerald Albright, Jeff Lorber, Anita Baker, Teena Marie, Natalie Cole, Kirk Whalum, of course, Rochelle Farrell, Tom Jones, and a bunch of others, including the Isley Brothers. This man knows how to keep the groove going, ladies and gentlemen. Check him out right here on the Career Musician Podcast. On today's episode of the Career Musician Podcast, we have my good buddy and bass player to the stars and beyond, Mr. Dwayne Smitty Smith.
Right on. My man Michael.
What's up, Smitty?
I'm doing all right, brother. Doing as good as I can under the circumstances.
Right, exactly. Man, so what you just mentioned, this lockdown was kind of sudden, this pandemic. What were you on the road when you initially got word, or what were you doing? Where were you?
I was a week away from going out with Boney. We were just about to get our summer thing going, and maybe a week and a half. And we got the email that says close it down. Everything's canceled.
Man, that's crazy. So when you say Boney, that's Boney James for right. Listeners who may not know. Yeah, and that's one of the many gigs you've had for quite some time. Can you tell us about some of the other gigs that you've been doing over the years?
Well, in June, late May, I was scheduled to do the Dave Koz cruise, and that's the 2-week cruise, and I've been doing that the last 3 or 4 years. And so that was canceled as well. Last 3 or 4 years, right? But, right.
I know a few people that do the cruise, the Dave Koz cruise. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was just talking to Dave Hooper. So you guys would have been doing the cruise together, right?
Dave Hooper. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And who else was in that? Wait, is there still 2 bands, 2 house bands, or is it one? Or
well, it's 3 bands.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's 3 bands, and I played with L.A. Collective. That's Tony Moore on drums, Carnell Harrell keyboards. Guitar player was Rick Marcel.
Oh yeah,
he's funky. Man. He's funky, man. and,
Absolutely,
and he sang
man.
as well. And
all these cats are the cats,
good
man.
Good cats. And man, we back up. I think we might have backed up last year 10 or 12 artists. And,
wow.
So it's a lot of music, but it's fun. It's fun. It's 2 weeks straight.
It's 2 weeks, man, back to back. So you guys come back to port, and then you pick up new guests,
right.
And you leave again.
Leave the next day, or later that same night. I think we leave. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I did 1 or 2 of those years ago when I was with Kirk Whalum still.
Right.
But that was a long time ago. Now let's go back there. So that's how we met, right?
That's how we met.
Yeah.
South Africa.
South Africa was the first time.
Man. Yeah.
Now, were you were playing with Kirk?
Mm-hmm. I had been playing with him already for a while.
Okay. So I had just joined then.
Right. You were the new cat, the new young cat. I was like, who is this cat? No, it's just
Oh man, such good memories. I really cut my teeth on that gig, man. I learned a lot on that gig, you know? Yeah, that was fun. And we were opening for Mary J. Blige and Casey and JoJo.
Oh, that's right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was a big arena. It was a huge
exactly.
arena.
Yeah, that's how I met a lot of those guys from those bands. So yeah, that's so awesome. All right, so the Cause cruise got canceled, but is it postponed to a later time in the year? Or
Yeah, they haven't given us a date yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Boney stuff some of his stuff has already been moved to next year. From June on, we haven't gotten confirmations yet on when it's going to be rescheduled.
Gotcha. So look, let's just dive right in. Let's start with your history, man. So where are you from originally?
Washington, D.C.
D.C.
Yeah, man.
There you go. And when did you come out west to L.A.?
Moved to L.A. March of '86.
Okay.
Right.
Nice. And what brought you out? Like, what was the reason? Did you have a gig already, or did you just come out?
No, I didn't know
work?
anyone, man. I was I went in the Air Force when I graduated. And when I got in the Air Force, I went in for electronics. But when I got in, I heard about this band. I auditioned for the band, and I got in the band. So I toured with this band 3 years. When I came home, back to D.C., a week later, I joined like the hottest band in town. It was a jazz band, fusion band. Mike Bearden was on keyboards, and some guys from Howard.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Some guys from Howard University. So I did that for a year, but I quickly learned I could play, but I didn't know what these cats knew. And so after about a year, I said, I gotta go to school, man. And so I heard about MIT, BIT in LA. So I came out here, I got in.
So when you say you had to go to school, like you're talking about you had to go to life school in LA.
Well, no. I wanted to go to music school.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because I had the playing skills, but I didn't have the music knowledge that these guys from Howard had. And so I wanted to get that. So I came out here. I went to BIT for a couple of days, and I didn't like it, so I just quit. And then I jumped into life school. I just hit the streets, man. And a year later, man, I got my first big gig. And my first gig was with Anita Baker.
Wow.
The Rapture Tour.
See, man, the Rapture Tour, man, I remember that album. You're right. That was huge, man, when that came out.
Right.
So you were with Everett Harp then, right?
No,
in that band?
was a few years before Everett. It was Bobby Lau.
Oh, okay.
Bobby Lau was the MD. And you had Donnell Spencer was on drums.
Wow.
Perry was singing background. Pete Escovedo was playing percussion. And a guy from Detroit named Donald Griffin was on guitar. And Gerald Albright was actually the bass player. And I replaced him for I only did about 6 weeks because he had to do his first record. He had just gotten his record deal. So, and then when Gerald, after that tour, Gerald started touring, and then I started touring with him. And that's pretty much how it took off.
That's some exciting times, man. And I love that how, to me, that's the epitome of what I call a career musician, because you just put all your faith into your actions.
Sir. Yeah.
Like you just do it. You know you're called to, it's in you. You just got to do it. You came out here, you didn't have a gig, and you said basically a year later you got that big gig.
About exactly a year. And I'm 24 years old, man. You don't have any fear, man, at the time.
That's right. That's right. But let's talk about that, because maybe to all the young people who are listening, what do you think it takes to come out when you just left school, you just left your hometown? What do you think, how do you do that? What are some tips that you could tell people, look, this is what you got to do?
First of all, you just said it, man. It's when it's in your heart, when you know that's what you're supposed to do, that's the first thing. And so that's a major drive right there. And then youth, when you're young, you have that energy, you don't have the fear, so you can move on things, and you're not really worried about the outcome so much. And so I would say, if you have that desire in your heart and it's deep and you got the energy, just go for it. Just take the steps. Don't procrastinate. Just go hard. And if you're young, you have plenty of time to fail, so to speak. But just go for it, man. And,
that's right. That's right. I mean, and that's the best way to learn from failing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, wow, that's so cool, man. All right, so today it might be like different in certain areas in that, we have the technology advancements, so everybody has studio rigs and stuff in their homes or their apartments or whatever, or mobile studio rigs. But still the concept is the same. And obviously a lot of the venues changed, the jam sessions, but because it was the same for me when I came out in 2005, I just started going to all the jam sessions in town. And you meet players, right? I mean, you just get immersed in the local scene.
Yeah, that's one-on-one. That's how you get on the scene, one-on-one, man. Go to the jam sessions. Take your bass. I want to play. I know that song. I want to play. All right, well, come on up then, man. Let's see what you got. And fortunately for me, when I started going to the jam sessions, guys like Wayne Lindsey, Michael White, these guys were already on the scene. So when they heard me play, they were like, okay, this guy is okay. And I had a different groove coming from DC. I had the go-go thing in me, you know. And so it was kind of fresh at that time. Nobody had that raw, gritty, go-go, bouncy feel. And so I was just like the fresh guy on the scene. So Michael White, Wayne Lindsey, all those guys just started calling me, man. And,
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. All right. So, but what inspired you to play bass? I didn't even ask you that in the beginning. How did you gravitate towards bass?
That's a good way to put it. I gravitated because I started on drums. I love the drums. I remember, man, when the marching bands would come out, man, I would just follow along the parade or whatever, and I would just hang out back there where the drum section is, and I just loved it. I was just enamored with it, man. And so I started playing drums in the junior high school band. Yeah. And the bass player was playing Stevie Wonder's I Wish. And I said, man, can you please show me how to play that? I had never touched the bass, Mike, literally. And he showed me the song.
Wow.
I literally picked the bass up and played the song pretty good. I mean, with fingers and everything. And from that moment, it was like a drug. I was hooked. I put the drums down, went out and said, Mom, I need a bass. She bought me a $30, $40 bass. And the rest is history.
Man, and that is one of the coolest bass lines ever
yes, sir.
written.
Yes, sir.
And but Stevie on that record, didn't he play it with key bass?
I'm pretty sure, it was key bass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But still, whether it's key bass or real bass, it's like, it sounds so cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So you just nailed it automatically. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And it's not easy.
And,
it's a walking bass line.
And I played it pretty good. The bass player was pretty surprised. He was shocked actually, because I had never played bass before.
That's awesome. And then from then on, you just focused on bass. That was it.
That's it, man. I found some Larry Graham records, man. And I came across Jocko and Marcus Miller. So I'm in the room all day, man, 10 hours a day, just learning songs, And it didn't take long, Mike. After about a year, I was really playing well. Yeah. And that was like 14, 15 years old,
Right. So then you started hitting the scene out in D.C.
Yeah, just playing around the neighborhood. I didn't do any professional gigs. I just played in the neighborhood with a couple of guys. And I joined my first go-go band. I think I might have been 16. And I did that for a couple of years. I graduated, and then I went to the Air Force.
Got you. And you said you were in the Air Force band, right?
Yeah, Air Force band. Tops in Blue. We were a big stage band. It was a production, dancers, singers, horns. We did the 1984 Super Bowl halftime.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty big. Yeah.
That's a big deal, man. Mm-hmm. All right, so tell us.
That's a big deal.
Tell us more about your credits, because I know from just talking to you, over the years doing gigs, you were with the Isley Brothers for a while, right? Right.
That came along, I think, mid-'90s. I did Anita Baker, 87. And then pretty quickly after that, I did the Teena Marie tour, and Michael White pulled me in on that. And then pretty much right after, it was all kind of back-to-back, I did Natalie Cole, and I did that for a few years. And then off and on over the years, she would call and we'd do something. And then I jumped on the smooth jazz scene. I was playing with Gerald Albright, Bobby Lau, Paul Jackson Jr., and Tom Scott, Crusaders.
Nice.
And then around mid-90s, I auditioned for the Isley Brothers. And it was last minute thing, man. I got the gig on like a Wednesday night or Tuesday night. Wednesday we rehearsed, and Thursday we were on the road. And I did the Isley Brothers for 7 years, and then mid 2000s I jumped back on the smooth jazz scene.
Gotcha. And that's when we met. Yeah.
Yes, that's when we met. Yeah.
So, but again, for me, that is so classic career musician. You get the call, yo, can you do this gig? Yeah. Okay, I'm sending you the music now. Learn it today, go to rehearsal, and show up on the gig. Or sometimes you don't even have a rehearsal, you just show up.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
That's how we are trained to do our jobs, right? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're cramming probably what? For the Isley's gig, you were probably cramming 30, 40 songs?
Yeah, a good 30 songs.
Yeah.
I just learned the show. But over time, I had to learn more music,
right. But at least half of those songs were hits. So, like you already knew them, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I knew probably, when I went in for the audition, I knew everything they asked to play. So it was maybe 5 or 6 tunes. And so I probably knew 7 or 8 of their tunes already.
That's cool. That's cool. And so was it Ronald and Ernie both in the band? They were still...
Right, Ronald Ernie.
Wow.
Roman Johnson was the MD. Sugarfoot was on drums.
Wow, I was just going to ask
Jonathan
you that.
Moffett. Yeah, it was a killing band. And let me see who else. Dee Levance was on keyboards. Who else? Reggie Griffin was on keyboards. It was another keyboard player. It was a famous guy. I can't think of his name right now. But we had a great band, man. Great band.
That's awesome.
And Reggie Griffin also played guitar. So he doubled up guitar and keyboards.
That's right. I remember Reggie. I came into the Babyface band after he just left. So I never really met him. Like I know him. And I just know people talk about him all the time. And, so I know him from a distance. But yeah, I know he's a bad cat too. I mean, all these cats are just, premium players. I love it, man. I love it.
Right, man. Right.
So in fact, we played with Natalie just at different times. I was after that. Oh, yeah, I did a couple years with Natalie Cole. What a sweetheart, man. I really...
my favorite gig. Hands down. Man.
And so classy. The music was just so... rich and perfect, And so sad, man. May she rest in peace, man. Definitely miss her.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
was Gail... go ahead.
This was way before Gail.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This was maybe 88, 89 when I got with her. And I was with her, like I said, 2 or 3 years, maybe a couple of years straight. And then we did a reunion thing when Sinbad did his thing in Aruba and Jamaica, his Soul Fest. We got back together and did that. And that was about it. But I was pretty close with Natalie, actually.
Really?
Yeah. We were pretty close.
That's awesome, man. She seemed, I knew her, but I didn't know her that well, but she seemed like a really genuine, sweet person. Anytime I, interacted with her on the gig and, just classy, right?
Yeah, very much down to earth.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, man, I love that. It's so beautiful, that music, man. So, all right, so man, your resume, your credits, you built by this point, like you said, late '80s through the '90s. Now that took you into the 2000s. You got back on the smooth jazz scene. And,
right.
I know, because I did quite a bit of the smooth jazz scene, especially with Kirk Whalum. We do a lot of fly dates, right?
Right, right.
So, right now, in these times, we don't know what's going to happen with those fly dates, These are unprecedented times, as they say, right? But talking about like a quick fly date where you just leave on a Thursday, come home on a, Sunday or whatever, what are some of the essentials that you need on those gigs, like gear or other packing items or just little tips and tricks and things that you've learned over the years or that you like to, adhere to?
Let me think about that. I'm a pretty simple guy. Of course, you got to take your trusted bass, your favorite bass, your road bass.
Right.
And let me see. I didn't take a lot of pedals. Every now and then I would take a couple of pedals, maybe like a Boss envelope filter, Boss octaver. Other than that, that was pretty much it. Packing wise, I'd have to say I was an overpacker.
Really?
I tend to like options, and it used to drive me crazy, man. But I would overpack, and I have, choices, and then I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. But other than that, man, I was pretty simple, straightforward. Tips, I would say traveling tips. First of all, be on time. Don't miss the flight.
I mean, let's start there, bro.
Let's make sure we do that, right? Let's make sure that's number one.
Yes.
And show up to the airport at a reasonable time so that people aren't even concerned that you're going to miss the flight.
Right. Keep everybody at ease.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Man, I so agree.
So that's a good tip. That's a very good tip to go by. And other than that, man, just integrity in general. Be on time. Be ready. Be likable.
Yeah.
Keep things cool. Don't create problems. Stay out of the mess. Don't be antisocial. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I like to
know when to speak, how much to say, when not to speak. All that stuff. Learn how to be friends with the artist, but also keep that respect. Don't cross the line. You know what I mean?
Man, I was just going to say, I'm over here. I'm Cuban Italian, so my hands are going up in the air. Every time you say something, I speak with my hands, right? So I keep on affirming everything Smitty's saying with my hands. And bro, it's so true because I feel like a lot of these things get neglected or they go unsaid, but I do feel like there's people out there that need to hear it because sometimes, especially like you said, when you're younger, maybe you don't know all these protocols, I mean, I think the last thing you said, talking about being friendly with the artist, but not getting too close, like that's a really important concept.
Yes, indeed. Especially when you're dealing with I hate to say a high-end artist, but someone of like a baby face stature. Natalie Cole, Ronald Isley. Yeah. Maybe the smooth jazz guys are a little more down to earth, so to speak, and a little more approachable. But when you're dealing with those
high
Natalie Coles,
the high celebrity profile,
right. You really got to pay attention to that.
That's right. There's nuances there, and I always tell cats that especially maybe like I said, and this isn't a stab. This is just encouragement to the younger cats. Take it easy. Don't get so close. Don't be so excited. Just go with the flow. Watch everybody else in the band, right? Take like notes from how everybody else is acting. And,
Right, exactly. And sometimes the artist, you can allow the artist to kind of invite you in to their space.
Right.
And even if you're dealing with an artist that's very open and very down to earth, still be careful. You can still break that line, So it's just a wise thing to know. Take note of,
Man, so true. And the thing about artists is, unlike musicians, they have managers. So a lot of times they'll go tell their manager what's happening, and then you get a phone call or an email from the manager, and you're like, "What happened?"
Right.
So
exactly.
I mean, that's
true.
what they're insulated. They have managers to handle those type of interrelationship kind of things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. And part of the reason for that is to keep their position and also to keep the drama down between the musicians and that artist.
That's right.
It's not ultimately, it's coming from them, the artist, through the manager, but it's not personal.
Man, so true. I think that's really important. That's the flip side of this. On the one side, be careful what you do and say and how you act, but on the other side, it protects everybody.
Right, exactly. Hi, this is Smitty Smith, and you're listening to Career Musician Podcast with Nomad.
Culminating a lifetime of experience, Nomad is the career musician. Stream the Career Musician podcast, highlighting interviews with other industry professionals, providing insight and strategies for a sustainable career for the next generation of aspiring career musicians.
You're listening to the Career Musician Podcast by Nomad.
Subscribe to the brand new Career Musician YouTube channel.
Download, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast platforms.
Let's talk about studio etiquette, because I feel like it's very similar to this thing that we're talking about with this sensitivity with the artists. You know, I know you've done some big sessions. So what's it like for you, and what has it been like for you over the years when you have done some of these big sessions? And, you know, how do you handle that?
Like you said, it's pretty much the exact same thing. You can approach it the same way. I think one thing about the studio I learned was let the producer, and it depends on the producer, but let the producer initially tell you what he wants or she wants. And if they're the type of producer that really doesn't know how, because some good producers don't really know how to tell you or direct you, so to speak, they'll just kind of leave it up to you and then maybe throw little comments at you. But if you have a producer that knows what they want, let them tell you what they want, but be prepared to be creative and know how to be creative, when to be creative, and know how to take direction and mix those two things up.
Right.
That was one big thing I learned. Don't come in just going for it. Don't come in just completely playing it straight lace. You know, you can give them a little bit from the gate because they want a little creativity. They want your personality, but just make sure you don't go all guns out from the gate unless they say so. They say just, hey man, just go for it. Of course, then you just go for it. But that was a good lesson that I learned. It took me a minute to learn that. At one point when you're young, I would coming from DC, the go-go scene, bass players back then pretty much just played the pocket. They just play the groove repetitive all night long.
Yeah, but that's why you have such a deep pocket.
Right, exactly. But that pocket gets deep. And so I would come in the studio in this pocket city, and they would say, you know, give me some more, give me this and give me that. And it took me a minute to learn how to really improvise. And then once I got that down pretty good, I got happy. And then I would come in and just be going for it. And this was before the gospel cats came on the scene. Right. And that's what they do pretty well, and I'm not mad at it. But so I had to learn that balance. It took me a few years to really learn that balance.
Right. But dude, your funk is so nasty. Your pocket is so killing. You got it all, and you got the chops too. So I just remember us playing together. We had a blast, dude.
Oh man, yes, indeed.
So,
yes. Who was playing drums on that?
Was it Sean McCurley? That's what I thought. Yeah, because I think he was in the band before I was as well. Yeah.
Right. And right. Yep. Okay.
So yeah, actually that was really tight. And on keys, I know we had a couple different. Was it Mike Logan yet, or he might have come later? Oh no, on keys it was Rick Jackson.
Oh
yeah.
Right. Oh man, I forgot about Rick. Wow.
Right. I love Rick, man. I haven't spoken to him in a few years. I have to check in on him.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
That was fun, man.
Good times. So any big sessions of note that come to your mind, like, and any producers or artists that you say, oh yeah, I remember that one. That was pretty dope, or this and that, or I know after a while they all blend together. I know for me it's like that. Right. It's hard to remember.
Right. Some of the bigger sessions I did that I enjoyed, I did maybe 3 of Lettucey's records, maybe 4 or 5 tracks, 6 tracks on maybe 3 of her records, and Rex Rideout produced.
I was just saying that's Rex, right? I love Rex.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Rex was calling me a lot to do. Oh man, I say almost all of his stuff. I would play on at least some of it. So Lettucey, Mesa,
yeah.
Layla Hathaway.
Bro, here's the crazy part. I played on those records too, but just as overdubs.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
Those are the three mains that I did with him: Mesa, Lettucey, and Layla Hathaway. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there was some good stuff there. Teddy Campbell on drums.
Right.
Who played? I can't remember guitar. It was a guy he played with Stevie Wonder, white guy. Played guitar. I can't remember. He was good.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
But that was some good stuff, man.
So you guys were tracked.
Did a lot of.
Oh, sorry.
We track live.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
We track live. So 4-day sessions, all-day sessions.
Yeah. Those are the best. Oh, I bet you it was Earl Cooney on guitar.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Love him, man. Killing.
Yeah, he was nasty. But yeah, man, those were some three big ones. I did a lot of stuff with Michael White and let me think, Will Downing. I probably played on most of his, maybe the last 8 or 9 records.
Oh wow, yeah.
Will Downing, and a lot of those I do right here at home though.
Right.
And some other stuff. Brian Simpson, man. Yeah, I can't remember them all.
Right. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Hey, when so I know I'm shifting gears, but talking about your health and lifestyle, because I know, like for me, on the road, it's a lot. I think it could be harder and sometimes easier on the road to maintain a good, But what have you done, throughout your career to maintain some good health?
Well, last 20 years, I've been pretty much a health nut. Anyway, so but like you say, it's a little more difficult on the road. What I do is I just try to make the best of catering, of course.
Yes.
And generally, catering is pretty good. And but I would just go for the best of it. The greens. I eat a lot of greens, salads, and not a lot of sweet stuff and sweet drinks and sodas and stuff like that. Candy. I have a little treat here and there, and I eat a lot of fish. But also, I would also try to exercise. You get up in the morning and run a couple of miles, hit the gym for a minute. And that really gives you energy on the road when you're not getting a lot of sleep. You need that little energy to get you through the day, because we go to work at night.
Right.
So you have your whole day. And when most people are home resting, we're going to work.
Right.
So eating well, not eating too heavy, staying away from the sweet stuff, not too much. I drink a beer here and there back then, not so much now. And like I said, exercising really made a big difference.
And
just living a clean life generally.
Right.
No drugs, nothing like that.
Yeah. Man, it's so true, because especially I think, once again, the higher up you go on that celebrity status ladder of gigs, the more accessible the dangerous things become, right?
Right. Yeah, man.
You got to definitely watch out for that. So you like to run? Do you do any other type of exercise? Do you like to circuit train or do CrossFit or just regular, things, yoga or anything like that?
Nothing like that. Nah, nothing like that. Very simple. I don't run so much now that I'm older, but I do like maybe a 2-mile power walk. And I just do some calisthenics, some push-ups and some basic calisthenics. And man, that keeps me going.
Exactly. Same here. I've been doing a lot of that. Yeah. No, you look great, bro. I just saw you in the airport, about maybe a month or so ago? Well, before all this. Right. You were playing with Boney James and I was with Lettucey right next door. We didn't even realize
is that right?
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Okay.
That's funny.
Right.
Full circle, man, right?
Full circle, man.
So talk to me about your business, acumen, man. I mean, to be, again, I'm sorry for maybe overusing this term, but I think this is the true embodiment of a career musician, knowing how to deal on the business side, knowing how to talk to managers and knowing how to negotiate and so forth. Mm-hmm. Any words of insight on that front?
Well, to be honest, I didn't do a lot of dealing with managers. Just a couple of times when I got the Anita Baker gig, I dealt with the musical director.
But that's just as important.
Yeah. and we talked about all the details and everything. Back then, that was my first gig. He pretty much said, "This is what the gig is. This is what it pays." I didn't, it was great for me. So there was no negotiating there. And then with Teena Marie, I talked with the manager. Basically, yeah, hey, this is what the gig pays, and it was fine. Michael White had already kind of given me a heads up, so it wasn't a lot of negotiating there. Natalie Cole, same thing. I had just come off those two gigs, so I pretty much said, this is kind of what I need, what I'm used to, because she was paying a little less at that time. And she didn't quite meet what they were paying, but a year later, I went back to her and said, hey, can we step
If you
it
have
up,
to sub out, what is your protocol? And how have you ever had to say no thank you to a gig? Because those are both kind of sensitive things,
Right. Well, what I try to do as far as subbing out, if I can't give the artist at least 2 weeks notice, I try not to sub out.
Right.
Unless it's a situation which is very rare. Like, say, it's a local gig and it's one gig, or even if it's a smooth jazz artist and it's one show, and Boney calls and say, hey man, we got 10 shows we got to do. It's last minute. We're going to do it, 10 days from now. Then, you got to make that choice. Yeah. But that doesn't happen very often. As far as, what was the other?
So have you had to say no thank you,
Maybe a couple times in my career, maybe a couple times. One time and it depends on, I think it was a matter of, it was a difficult artist or something like that. And I just didn't want to be.
Right.
I'm low key, man. I don't like conflict. And I just didn't want to be around a difficult situation, And I won't name any names, but that would be one thing I would stay away from. I remember one situation, I actually took a gig, and once I got on the gig, it was just a scene I didn't want to be around. And I bailed out of the gig, but I told them, look, if you can't get anyone, I'll do it. But I'd really rather not. And I explained to them why, and they were cool. And they got on the phone, they got someone, and so I bailed out.
I think that's good, like a good example of sometimes when you just are honest, things work out for the best.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, before I go out, because I want to talk about your music, I want to wrap with talking about your music. But before I do that, any memorable moments or words of wisdom that you can cultivate, kind of in one concise thought?
Memorable moments, of course, was my first gig with Anita Baker. That was memorable. I remember when I initially auditioned for the gig, and they called me and said, well, you did a great job, but she went with this other guy. I think at the time, this hot guy, his name was Charles Meeks. I think he was a hot guy then. But thanks for coming down. Half hour later, the phone rings. I pick it up. They say, hey, look, man, Charles Meeks decided he didn't want to do the gig. He's making enough money in town, and the gig wasn't paying what he wanted. And she liked your groove. She liked your tape, so the gig is yours. And I remember just doing backflips in the living room. And so that was pretty memorable, how that came about. And then, of course, the Isley Brothers, I remember realizing at some point, I'm on stage with the people my mother and father used to blast in the house when I was 10 years old.
Right. Wow.
And I was on the road maybe a few weeks before I realized that. And so that was a very memorable moment. Overall, wisdom or insight, I think we kind of touched on it.
Yeah, you really did. You touched on a lot of good stuff.
Just go for it. Be prepared. Be high integrity is good. Honesty is good. Just be wise. Be smart. Be likable. Stay out of trouble. Remember, this is a job. This is a profession. and treat it just like any other job that you respect and that you expect to get paid for.
That's right.
And also, I'd say this for the young guys: plan ahead. Not necessarily have a fallback, or what do you call it? Yeah, fallback or second
plan
option
B.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Plan B, right? I remember Kirk Whalum saying this, and I'll never forget it. He said someone asked him about his plan B, and he said, "I never had a plan B. This is what I wanted to do. And this is what God gave me to do, and I'm going for it." So I wouldn't say is anything wrong with a plan B.
Yeah, I can identify with that.
Plan ahead in terms of what do I want to do 20 years from now when the new hot guys come on the scene. You know, because it happens every 10, 15, 20 years.
That's right.
There's a new crop of guys coming up taking the gigs. So what am I going to do? So plan ahead, work on writing songs, producing, maybe teaching or some other things.
Yes.
You know, if you do well while you're young, buy some property, you know, these kind of things. You know what I mean? So that's some good stuff to think about.
And you did just that. I know, you know.
I did all those things.
Yes.
We bought some stuff early in the 90s, and actually, I gave up one of my properties. I actually bought too much when I was young. And so we had to go back to renting for several years, many years actually. And then now we have a couple of properties in South Carolina. So we're still renting now. We're actually looking to buy again. But we have some property in South Carolina that we rent out.
Right.
A couple of places. So, yeah, that's a good thing to have, you know.
That's right.
In your future.
That's right. Man, that is the perfect words. Those are the perfect words of wisdom. Thank you so much. So look, let's talk about your music, because you've been a sideman playing in all these bands for all these years, but then you have a couple albums, and talk about that. Do you consider it to be a transition or more of a duality?
Actually, a duality. Because my goal wasn't necessarily to be
that's what I thought. Yeah.
An artist, you know, but I just enjoy recording, writing, putting the songs out, selling the CDs on the road. You know, all the artists let you do that. And so I do that. I really enjoy that. But now, at this point, I'm really considering putting more emphasis on the artist side. So, yeah, I really enjoy doing records.
So what are your two albums? I think you said 2 albums out right now. Is that right? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did my first record. It's been a while since I did my first one. It's called This Is Me. I did it maybe 10 years ago or so, 10, 12 years ago. And it was the first thing I ever did. The first time I've written songs and I recorded. It was a great record. I featured Gerald Albright. I featured Will Downing and some other guys. I think Oscar Seaton, who played keyboards, Brandon Coleman, Daryl Crooks.
Yeah. We
went in and cut most of the stuff live. And then maybe 5-6 years later, I did a second record, which is called Stories. It's just a great record. You got to get this record. Yeah. Stories.
Okay.
Same band, Oscar Seaton, Daryl Crooks, Daryl Crooks and Brandon Coleman.
I love all those cats.
Yeah, man. We just feel so good together. Sax player from DC by the name of Kevin Levi. And I think Michael White might have played on one tune.
Nice.
But Stories is if I can boast on myself a little bit, I almost think this is a brilliant record.
Good.
It's so different, and it's not smooth jazz. It's not fusion, but it has a little fusion, a little neo, some DC go-go bounce in it. It's got some, Kirk Whalum did this amazing horn arrangement on So What.
Nice.
With a little DC flip on it. And I did an old tune by Weather Report called Palladium.
Right, I remember that tune.
And I flipped that too. You guys got to get this.
Okay, record. Is it streaming everywhere?
It's streaming,
cool.
iTunes and all that.
Spotify.
It may not be on Spotify right now. We had a problem with Spotify.
Okay,
but pretty much everywhere else.
Okay, cool. And it's Stories by Dwayne Smitty Smith. We can get that. And what are all your socials? You have a website and your Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, website, DwayneSmittySmith.com, Twitter, I can't remember what it is. I'm sorry.
That's all good.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You'll find me on all that stuff.
Cool, man. That is so awesome. Yo, Smitty, thank you so much for sharing with us on the Career Musician Podcast.
You're welcome, brother. Hadn't seen you. It's been a while, man.
I know, it's been too long. Hey, going out real quick, would you mind doing some rapid fire questions? Just like, don't even think about it. I'm going to ask you some like, fun questions about what you do in your personal time.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite food?
Salmon. Let me do that one again. I actually need to think about that. Oh, man. I don't have a favorite food, so I got to kind of make up something. And then you can.
Well, you said salmon. That's a good one, though.
I mean, I said salmon. That's because I eat it a lot, but it's really not my favorite food.
Yo, if you didn't have to worry about your health and you could eat whatever you want, what's your favorite food?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. I love it.
Chocolate cake and ice cream.
Oh, man. Right up my alley. Favorite drink?
Okay.
Besides water. I know we all hydrating, but besides water, favorite drink?
Kool-Aid. No, I'm just kidding. A nice iced tea.
Oh, yeah.
Unsweetened.
Unsweet. See, I like that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Favorite sport?
Football.
Okay. How do you spend your free time?
With my family, my wife, my daughters. Believe it or not, musicians, we get to, our job can also be our hobby.
Right.
So I just play my bass, learn songs.
There you go.
Like
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do on long flights? Do you sleep or do you like to stay engaged?
I usually sleep right away.
Yeah.
And then once I wake up, I'll listen to some music, maybe watch a movie, read some book. I read my Bible a lot.
Nice.
Things like that,
Awesome. Mm-hmm. What's the latest song or band that you've listened to that you haven't worked on?
That I haven't worked on. Band or songs that I've listened to?
Artist, whatever.
Artists that I've listened to. Wow.
That's a tough one, right? Because we're always working on music.
That's a tough one, right? That's a tough one. I really don't have an answer for that one.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have a favorite TV show or movie that you've been watching lately?
Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. Don't watch a whole lot of movies, but I watched Shark Tank. One of my favorite movies was Coming to America.
Nice.
Course,
love it. Yeah, I love both of those.
Man.
Now, before this crazy pandemic that we're experiencing, when you would shop, do you prefer to shop online or brick and mortar?
Brick and mortar. However, the young guys are telling me, man, you got to shop online. Boney James shops online. Omari Williams, our drummer, he shops online. He's like, man, you got to get your stuff online, man. It's easy.
Right.
So I think I'm going to start trying that.
That's cool. Hey, dream collaboration. I mean, you've collaborated with a lot of the big ones, but if there was a dream collab that you could have, whether they were deceased or, it doesn't matter, whomever.
I've been trying to collaborate with this guy named Mike Rapole, but I can't get to him. His manager, it's tough, man. I can't get to him.
That's.
But other than Mike Rapole, maybe I love to collab with Marcus Miller.
Oh, see, that's a good one. I like that. That. Hey, you know what? By the way, I heard that guy Rapole changed his name to Nomad, so I don't know, man.
Oh, okay.
That was a good answer, but I would love to see you and Marcus Miller doing some crazy stuff together.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
And finally, bro, if you weren't a career musician, what do you think you would do?
Wow. I have no idea. Mike, I was into sports growing up. Right. I wanted to play pro ball. I was pretty good at baseball. I may have gone that route. I was actually I was actually practicing one day in high school on the football field, football practice, and I couldn't stop thinking about my bass, man. And one day I actually just walked off the field and never went back. So if bass hadn't come into my life, I may have gone the sports route.
Wow. Okay. That's cool, man. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I think I find that a lot of musicians have that that duality, sports and music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was never coordinated enough for sports, so for me it was music.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, once again, Smitty, thank you so much. And we got to do some tracks together. So maybe during this quarantine time, we can send some ideas back and forth.
Absolutely. I'm down.
That would be awesome.
I'm absolutely down, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Man, I love you, man. It's good to see you and talk with you. Let's stay in touch. Stay safe.
Thank you. Same here. Love you back, bro.
Hey, man. Right on, brother.
All right, be good, man.
All right, my man.
Join the Career Musician Facebook group and get involved in the conversation.
Download, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast platforms.
Be sure to subscribe to the Career Musician podcast and like The Career Musician on all social platforms to stay up to date on news and topics that affect your music career.
I'm just a nomad, nowhere man, writing the songs in this one-man band. A nomad, yeah, I'm a nomad. And you'll be fine. I'll be back this way sometime. Until then, baby, don't you cry. Hey, this is Nomad, host and creator of the Career Musician Podcast, and I am thoroughly stoked to be an official member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Pantheon Podcast Network is the first of its kind as an all-music-based podcast collective. Please be sure to check us out at pantheonpodcast.com for more info.